world is new. You must come in for a spot of tea and a homemade Marmite sandwich.
Homemade Marmite, and made by a woman with such gentle hands.
Now, I don't think it's a surprise that for most of this channel's lifespan, I've been doing my fair share of reviews of shows, movies, and other animated stuff from the US. But why don't we switch it up a bit? Let's head over to another part of the world to discuss a certain dynamic duo. The year is 1989, and over on the UK side of the world, a little claymation company called Aardman is getting into their craft, winning awards along the way, but there would come a certain duo that would end up changing the company forever. The team consisting of a well-mannered, cheese-loving inventor, his every man of a dog, and the wacky adventures they find themselves in, from trips to the moon to mastermind penguins to even Baker murder mysteries. This dynamic duo have been through a lot together. Throughout countless years of history, they've touched the minds of many people around the world, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm one of them. I fell in love with this little charming franchise around the release of their feature film, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and since then have never forgotten them. Even now I regularly watch their shorts because I just found them extremely charming. So, in order to show my love to the titans of the stop motion art as a whole, come along with me as I go over every moment, every invention, and the whole bunch of antics in between. Welcome, my friends, to the Wallace and Gromit legacy.
No crackers, Gromit. We've forgotten the cracker.
I'd better see to him. The bounce has gone from his bungee.
It's cheese. We'll go somewhere where there's cheese.
A Grand Day Out would end up being the first outing for the legendary duo. Of course it isn't perfect, but in reality, what is? In a way, I see it as more of a gateway, an introduction to what would soon become the franchise we would come to know and love. Story is pretty simple for the most part, focusing on Wallace and Gromit traveling to the moon wanting to get cheese for a picnic, encountering unique characters and settings. Watching the short, you can tell that there were some things that would end up being more streamlined and given more polish in future shorts, such as the introductory music and Wallace's design. He's a lot more simplified than his current one, which would be influenced in the second short, but more on that later. I will say this, it is definitely littered with imperfections. Clay models seem rough around the edges, having fingerprints and markings on them, the movements are off at times, the pacing would feel slow for most of the short's runtime, and the voice acting for Wallace is definitely a lot less refined from Peter Sallis' iconic voice for the character, but I believe they add to its timeless charm more than anything.
I don't know, lad. It's like no cheese I've ever tasted. Let's try another spot.
Definitely one of my favorite moments from A Grand Day Out would have to be the scenes with the coin-operated machine on the moon. The dictionary definition of show, don't tell. Within the short runtime, we learn through nothing but visual storytelling of the machine's hopes, its emotion through every motion it makes on screen. It's kind of beautiful in a way when you think about it. A Grand Day Out isn't necessarily the best introduction to these characters, there's a lot wrong with it, but it's still a fun, charming and inventive piece of history that laid the groundwork for the Wallace and Gromit series to blossom.
It's the wrong trousers. The wrong trousers.
Released in 1993, The Wrong Trousers is where I can say the crew behind Wallace and Gromit really found their footing in terms of what they wanted the stories the duo would go on to be, ones that are more wacky and comedic in essence, with the duo having to stop the antics of the criminal mastermind Feathers McGraw, and with this being the second short in the legacy, I'd say the execution was done remarkably well. This definitely looks like it has a lot more put into it. Designs are a lot more smoothed out and polished, music's more cinematic in a way with every note conveying the tone of the scene they're in, and the voice performance from Peter Sallis has been fully realized, having Wallace be more eccentric in his delivery as opposed to Grand Day Out. Speaking of which, some of you may realize that Wallace received a bit of a design upgrade since Grand Day Out, with him having his iconic coat hanger shaped mouth. In an interview with BBC, Nick Park had this to say about the change.
Well, the way his mouth moved and the way he says cheese was actually the way the actor Peter Sallis says cheese in his very northern English way. I actually animated Grand Day Out with a smaller mouth. And then it came to the point where he had to say cheese, and suddenly his mouth had to go, no cheese, Gromit. Since I made Grand Day Out, I've thought of how similar he is to my father, because my father used to make things a lot. He wasn't an inventor, but he was always in the shed making things. In Grand Day Out, Wallace builds a rocket and it's got wallpaper inside and furniture, and it just reminded me after making the film of my dad.
But a new challenger approaches as the antagonist of The Wrong Trousers, Feathers McGraw, an infamous jewel thief who's as deadly as he is silent. He's up there with Aardman's catalogue of well-written baddies. Even though he never speaks, he follows the tradition of a Grand Day Out's philosophy, letting his menacing actions speak louder than words. A philosophy that would be used for future shorts with Aardman villains, which I really do appreciate. Like a lot of people, I'm a big fan of the train chase scene. The speed of the characters, the impact of every movement, and the overall scope really made it a blast to watch the first time around, and even more of a fun time now. With all these aspects in mind, there's no doubt that The Wrong Trousers is my favorite out of all the shorts in the legacy. It takes all the details from A Grand Day Out and went into this project with the mindset of improving them 100-fold, which makes it all the more special.
Not a sheet to worry us. Get off me cheese! Get off! Wallace and Gromit's wash and go window cleaning service. May we be of assistance?
A Close Shave is definitely the short that has the most improvements out of the original trilogy. At this point in the franchise, the crew have learned from their mistakes regarding the first two shorts and have made this one better than ever, with the introduction of Shaun the Sheep, another staple character from Aardman, and a story including the duo having to save their town from sheep nappers. I really commend this short for changing up the formula in a sense. At this point, we know what our dynamic duo are like, with them being in two shorts already, so it would make sense to introduce new characters and avenues for the shorts, which in the context of this short works quite well. But while I do love A Close Shave, it is kind of at fault for introducing a storytelling style that would go on to take over the franchise's endeavors. Allow me to explain. A Close Shave introduces the dynamic of Wallace finding a love interest that only stays during the duration of the short, while Gromit slowly but surely discovers the danger that threatens the duo. This continues up until the halfway point where Wallace eventually discovers the danger and have to stop it together. This isn't necessarily a bad way of telling a story, and it by no way changes the quality of them, but it starts to feel like you're watching the same thing over and over in a sense. The plane scene stands out as my absolute favorite scene from A Close Shave. Similar to the train scene from Wrong Trousers, there's a perfect sense of speed, impact, and timing, all told with no dialogue. Another amazing job by the Aardman crew. Closing off the original trilogy of shorts, A Close Shave attempted to add new aspects and story to what was established previously. Sure, it would end up changing future stories drastically, but alone, I think it does its job pretty well. The duo took a break for a while after A Close Shave while Aardman was working behind the scenes on something special, but in the meanwhile, in 2002, there was a bit of a demand for more media starring the two, since their popularity skyrocketed around this time, mostly around parts of the world like Japan. What resulted was a series of 1 to 3 minute shorts aptly named Cracking Contraptions. The series isn't necessarily anything special from my point of view. Each includes the duo using some sort of machine to handle everyday tasks, be it changing the channel, picking something up from the shops, or going to sleep easier. They're all serviceable at best, not really offering much in my opinion. I guess if you're interested in the duo, you can take a look, but I don't really recommend it. That's pretty much it. Next segment.
And for our sins, a hideous creature has been sent to punish us all. Repent! Repent! Lest you too taste the wrath of the were-rabbit!
May look innocent, but left to his own devices, this is the ultimate vegetable destroying machine.
In collaboration with DreamWorks and released in 2005, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit hit theaters to major financial and critical success. In all honesty, this remains to this day one of my favorite Aardman productions. There's a sense of cinematic scope in this that you couldn't really find anywhere else. It is said that a perfect character can be put into any situation and can make it entertaining, and I have no doubts that it works here, with the movie centering on the duo being the pest control team Anti-Pesto, a humane bunny extraction service. While this premise does give for some interesting storytelling, I feel like it's much more cleverly used than that. Bunnies not only surround the main issue that our characters have to deal with, but is also part of it since Wallace is the were-rabbit, and I think that's really smart all things considered.
Oh, it's hopeless. I'll never fix this flipping machine. My mind's just a rabbity mush. Oh, Gromit, I don't want to be a giant rabbit.
An aspect I can commend the Aardman team for is this movie's villain, Victor Quartermain. His posh, almost snooty delivery by Ralph Fiennes, having a dog that contrasts Gromit completely, and I miss villains that are straight up just bad. Such a refreshing concept in a world of twist villains that have no real impact. I won't lie, this definitely looked like it was a chance for the team to demonstrate Gromit's usefulness in the duo's dynamic. With him being silent, it's important to portray to the audience his emotions not only through his body language, but his actions as well, and the movie holds this to a T.
Every dog has his day.
This movie really does have it all. Fast action, smooth animation, interesting characters, a score by Hans Zimmer, and an extremely wholesome atmosphere to top it all off. Overall, it's a great film. But don't take it from me, take it from another Wallace and Gromit fan himself.
One of my favourite mediums has to be stop motion. The time and passion that goes into the art of stop motion is something to be appreciated and is often overlooked and underappreciated, whether it be the creative yet dark Coraline or the work of Wes Anderson. But one of my favourite stop motion franchises has to be Wallace and Gromit. I'm not going to talk too in depth about the history since GeekTunes has probably already discussed it, but I want to talk about my history with the franchise and what keeps me coming back to it. I think it started with the movie. As a kid, I owned The Curse of the Were-Rabbit on DVD. I remember really enjoying the film for two main reasons. Number one, the movie itself. The plot is pretty good and unique when compared to other movies released around that time frame. The humor is definitely the best aspect. It's really strong with this film. I laughed quite a few times when watching it. I really like the villain Victor Quartermain. He's your standard evil villain, but he's actually pretty funny to watch. And damn, when he realizes Wallace is the were-rabbit, that face, knowing he now has a valid reason to murder Wallace, man, this character is evil. And number two, how the movie was made. I remember seeing the behind the scenes on a DVD. I think it was a flushed away DVD, but it could have been the Were-Rabbit DVD, I'm not sure. Anyway, the way they made this film fascinated me. The amount of time and passion put into making it wowed me. Seeing the big set with the buildings and how they'd move each character a tiny bit and had different faces for them, I was amazed. In short, I loved the movie. It's definitely an underrated film that I wish more people saw. The main aspect of Wallace and Gromit is their shorts. I really like these shorts, from the originals to the newer ones. They're a blast to watch. A short called A Matter of Loaf and Death is by far the darkest out of the bunch. I'm tempted to review it at some point because the tonal shift alone is something jarring when considering its source material is Wallace and Gromit. It centers around a baker killer trying to kill Wallace when he starts a baking business with Gromit. It's a really strange short but an enjoyable one for sure. I highly recommend checking the shorts out. Some are on Netflix, I'm pretty sure, but I'm sure you'll find them through completely legal means. Anyways, thanks for having me on, Geek. Check out my channel, Dylandoodle, where I make reviews. Check out my podcast, What's the Buzz, on Spotify. And make sure to check out my Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yeah, I have that now. Anyways, have yourselves a good one.
I'm Wallace. I'm inbred myself. Tell me what, lad. Let's go and deliver some bread, eh? That'll cheer us up.
A Matter of Loaf and Death is probably my least favorite from the legacy. It's not bad by any means, far from it. It's just that, after that explosion of creativity the movie was, it seemed to me like kind of a downgrade in a sense. Don't get me wrong, I still feel like this short has no shortage of creativity, but it's just not as exciting to me when compared to the other media within the legacy. The story is pretty exciting concept-wise, with the duo confronting an ex-commercial star, going around town murdering bakers and coming for Wallace next. Being honest, the short's just fine for me. The villain's threatening enough. The introduction of her dog as a sort of love interest for Gromit was a change-up I found pretty charming. The idea of the duo being bakers was pretty cool, I guess. Yeah, I got nothing. A Matter of Loaf and Death isn't bad by a long shot. Honestly, artistically, it's unmatched, with Aardman's prime stop motion at the helm, but it's just nothing special in my opinion. So far, the legacy has gone through a lot. We've seen the improvements in the shorts, changes in character and design, and the variety of stories presented. So with all this in mind, what do you think would be the last animated project the duo would star in? Another movie or short maybe? How about a 6-episode series that showcases a myriad of scientific machines that benefit humanity? Yep, that's right. Premiering in 2010 in collaboration with the BBC, Wallace and Gromit's World of Invention would last 6 total episodes. Honestly, there's not much to mention here, but if you're interested, I'll link this video by YouTuber Someboy Online, who covered the series and what it's all about. Check it out, it's really well made and informative. The last thing I will mention about World of Invention is that it was the last major project done by Peter Sallis voicing Wallace prior to his retirement in 2011 and his death in 2017, which is kind of poetic in a way with this context. Other than that, the World of Invention is nothing interesting in my mind. Maybe for historical use it could be useful, but other than that it's nothing special, ending the legacy so far not with a bang but with a whimper. After World of Invention ended in 2010, the duo retired to mostly doing adverts for many different companies. They may not be as relevant as they once were, but I feel like the art of stop motion and animation as a whole is in a better place because of them. Their shorts introduced many people to the medium itself, showing the world that it had a place in the industry, and to me, their legacy still lives on in a few places. Aardman's still making films, with their most recent hit being Shaun the Sheep for Armageddon. Studios like Leica are still putting out great stuff every once in a while, and smaller studios like Screen Novelties are over on the TV side, showing just what the medium can do on the small screen. But what's most interesting is the franchise's rather recent rebirth through internet culture. YouTube poops, animation, you name it, giving a new generation of artists the chance to tell their own stories with the duo. They may not be as prevalent in today's animation landscape, but in a way, we'll always remember the duo who lived at 62 West Wallaby Street.
Set coordinates for 62 West Wallaby Street. I don't know, lad. It's like no cheese I've ever tasted. Let's try another spot. Techno trousers. Ex-NASA. Fantastic for walkies. No more lodgers. More trouble than they're worth.
He's malfunctioning.
What?
Malfunctioning. Preston is a cyber dog.
Cyber? What?
A robot.
Why didn't we think of it before, lad? The solution to all our storage problems. Simply by connecting the bun vac to the mind manipulation-o-matic, we can brainwash the bunnies. Rabbit rehabilitation. Oh, never mind, lad. We've both been through the mill this week, haven't we? But at least yours wasn't a bread-hating, baker-murdering serial killer, eh? Like mine.
If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Don't you still amaze me?